Abuse, neglect, abandonment, the absence of a loving, engaged father can leave a child with lifelong wounds. And with generations of father wounds, the cycle just keeps repeating itself. But it doesn't have to. Take a look.
Bob Reccord is an author and the founder and chairman of Total Life Impact Ministries. He's also the former president of the Home Mission Board of the Southern Baptist Convention. Growing up, Bob's mother died when he was a young child, leaving him with an alcoholic father who would eventually give him up for adoption. In his book, Ending the Cycle of Father Wounds, Bob shares his devastating story, how he found healing from past wounds, and gives practical suggestions to help you do the same.
Please welcome back to the 700 Club, Bob Reccord. Bob, it's good to have you.
Hi, Terry. Good to be with you and Pat. So special.
You have been speaking for many years, but it was at a Promise Keepers event that you first discovered just how significant the issue of father wounds is. Tell us about that. Yeah,
I was speaking and they asked me to share my testimony because even when I was adopted, my adopted dad brought in unbelievable baggage as an illegitimate child, an abused child, now growing up and becoming my dad. And they asked to be sure that I shared about father wounds. And it was unbelievable. In 19 cities, in packed arenas, the number of men who responded, Terry, to the issue that I've got father wounds in my life. And that's why Malachi chapter 4 and verse 6, the last book of the Bible, ends saying, the Lord will turn the hearts of the fathers to the child and the children's hearts to their dads, because it has been generational for centuries. That led to the writing of Ending the Cycle of Father Wounds. You had, we alluded in this video that we just saw, you had some real issues with two dads in your life that really fell short of the mark for you. How did that impact you? Well, it impacted me to understand that not all father wounds are intentional. Obviously, when there's physical abuse or sexual abuse, those are really deep and tragic and so regularly require and need a professional Christian counselor. But frankly, a lot of the father wounds are unintentional. In fact, as I've spoken to hundreds of thousands of men and asked them a question, did you have a dad or a stepdad or a father figure who constantly and regularly told you they loved you unconditionally, who said they were proud of you for what you were, not just what you did in your performance, and who really worked at being involved in what was important to you? I've never had more than 25 to 30% of the men say, I had a stepdad, a dad, or a father figure like that. When women heard me talking about that, they said, wait a minute. Men are not the only ones who grapple with this. We women do. So I had to go back and adjust the whole book to include both men and women. Yeah. Did you learn to overcome your past? Because it's so easy for us to get stuck in what's been done to us. Yeah, you either become a victim or you choose to become a victor. It's like Vernon said on the story of Vernon and Ryan that was just shared with so many of us and so powerful. And I thought, oh, if only every daughter and son had a relationship with a dad or a stepdad like Vernon and Ryan had. It has to come back to a decision in your life and a grounding in something far bigger and more capable of bringing the healing than yourself. And that is a relationship with God, who gives you the grace to forgive and get past the hurt and the wounds of the past. And Terry, I found that wounds are, physically, if you look at Webster's, it says it's an injury of a membrane, often with damage to the tissue below that is not seen. Well, a father wound is an emotional injury to the heart or the soul of a son or a daughter that's caused by a dad, a stepdad, or a father figure in what they did or did not do in actions, words, or inactions while the child was growing up. And that leaves damage. If it's not dealt with, if it's not repaired and restored, it will come up as that child grows up, and it's often taken to their family as they establish a home. And that's the reason I called it ending the cycle of father wounds.
So, what are some practical ways to begin that process of healing, Bob?
Yeah. Well, it's first of all, admit that you've got them. And one of the questions I get asked all the time is, how do you know? Well, I have a friend who's a great Christian counselor, over 35,000 hours of dealing with people and solving the hurts of their hearts and soul. And he is so effective and worked with me to establish a self assessment tool in the third chapter of the book that the reader can go through and in 5 minutes have a good handle on, does father wound really have an impact in my life? And if so, to what degree? It is not an inerrant tool. It is not an infallible tool, but it is a really helpful diagnostic tool. From that point, when you know you got them, then you have to make a decision. Are they going to end with me? And if so, then I've got to relieve the baggage from the past, and I've got to be willing to forgive a dad, a stepdad, or a father figure who let me down, whether it was intentional or unintentional, so I don't take it into my own home as an adult.
Exactly. Well, the book is called Ending. I like that, Ending the Cycle of Father Wounds. Want you all to know it's available wherever books are sold. Hope for healing and preventing infections caused by relational wounds. Bob, thank you so much for being with us. Great to visit with you.
Thank you, Terry. And probably the easiest place to get it is on Amazon, where you can get it in both print edition and digital. And it's an honor to be with you. And may God turn the hearts of the children to the dads and the dads to the kids.
Absolutely. Thanks, Bob.